Hey, and welcome to my last video of the year, or my first video of the year depending on time zones. And I'm excited for this mod. It seems like an interesting one. It doesn't change the game too much, but it is cool, like the Angelus Overhaul mod that we played a little while back. Also, you may be wondering why I haven't uploaded as much for the past couple weeks, and no, it's not because I'm like busy with school. I've just been working on Falling Star. Quick history lesson, about a year ago I was working on something called the mod, where you guys would submit ideas to be added to this mod. Eventually, when No Step Back released, the mod became incompatible with the current version of Hoi4, and it was having some issues being updated, so I just decided to abandon the mod. But I brought the mod back for the mod season 2, which is Falling Star, where you guys again suggested a ton of ideas that got added to Falling Star, and I've been working on that mod quite a bit for about the last 6 months, though I had to take a long break for school, but with the semester over, I'm trying to finish it all up before my next semester starts, so the time that I usually would spend on YouTube stuff is going into that instead temporarily, but it's mostly done now, so hopefully I will be back to making videos soon, and I have some interesting ideas for videos to make in the new year, so hopefully that'll be fun. I might also work on a second channel too, but you know, it's just the classic thing where Hoi4 YouTubers always make a second channel that gets no views and then give up uploading there after a few months. It might be like this channel where it eventually becomes a Hoi4 channel, and then I can have 2 Hoi4 channels. I'm sure you'd all like that. Anyways, I don't think it really matters what country we play as. Maybe it matters if we play as the Soviet Union because it's supposed to add capitalism mechanics, but I assume the mechanics will still exist as the Soviet Union. To keep things spicy though, we'll play as the US. It's what you think of when you hear capitalism. Usually, I think we have a lot of weird national spirits. That's quite something. I think, yeah, everybody has all these weird national spirits. They basically are the equivalent of all the laws and government slots from TNO. And here's the parliament and economy system, which the economy system is a lot more like the 1000-week Reich economy system, if I had to compare it to something. Like, this is very, very similar to the 1000-week Reich economy ranking thing. I'd almost say that this is just a copy of it, but I'm pretty sure this is unique. Also, now we have 2 Congress mechanics because we have the vanilla Congress mechanic for the US and then the Congress mechanic for the Capitalism Mod. So, though actually the Congress mechanic is just a Congress of the ideologies, based on there being 2 seats for every 1% of the ideology wheel. So that's kind of weird. There's $10 million in campaign funds, 25% establishment support, and 2.5% corruption. It also looks like in addition to the economy decisions, it adds decisions to manage puppets too. So that is kind of interesting, though I don't know how much this really does. An easier way to integrate your puppets. International weapons market. This is nice. Some war profiteering mechanics. Anyways, I guess today I'm going to do an interesting path for the US. Every time I play as the US, I always do the democratic one, so I will do one of the other paths. I don't even think I've played the other paths, so who knows what will happen. Our debt isn't that bad. Our GDP is decent. Well, I say decent, it's the #1 in the world. Though I don't know why the GDP listed here is different from the GDP listed here. I think GDP should just be the same, no matter where it's listed. We'll see what we can do. Maybe we can like pay off all of our debt or something crazy. Right now I'm just not going to do any focuses. We're waiting for the election to put Alpha in charge so we can do reestablish the gold standard. But until then, we won't do any focuses. We'll save up political power and we'll get a silent workhorse to get more political power. Because after all, we need political power to do this manage economy stuff. I guess we can also see like Congress actions and bills. This is really weird. Call in some papers, defend the media, donate to the orphans. These are the mechanics we needed. Donate to the orphans mechanics. These resource bills, I guess now there are infinite resources in the game because all countries have access to those resource bills. So if you ever need a resource, you can just do one of the resource bills to create a resource. This button reminds me about this button that I always forget exists. I just never remember that there's a mini-map in Hoi4. I don't know if anybody uses this. It's kind of useful though, because you can easily send offensive and defensive pings to other players in multiplayer. If you use the mini-map, remember to, of course, like the video and tell me in the comments that you use the Hoi4 mini-map. And just to be clear too, these GDPs, even though we're playing in vanilla, are not historical. They're just mechanics for the mod. Like the Soviet Union didn't have the number 2 GDP until after the war, I believe. British Malaya didn't have the number 5 GDP in the world ever, even though I guess the game has run for 5 months, so you could say that weird Hoi4 things could have happened, but I feel like something is very wrong when British Malaya has the number 5 GDP. They have 1 civilian factory and a population of only like 4 million. What is going on with some of these places? Like Luxembourg has a GDP per capita of 67 when we only have 10? That's crazy. Mongolia has 56. Tanatuva has 46. Panama has a GDP per capita. It's over 4 times greater than the US. I don't know if I quite buy some of these GDP per capitas. Like Panama has only 5 factories and like no natural resources. Then they only have 2 oil. I don't know how it's being calculated to the 44 compared to our 10. And here's the election. We'll choose ALF. Also, be honest, has anyone ever actually just played the ALF path without using it to go down the ally with the silver shirts path? Just based on the modifiers, it is just an inferior Roosevelt path. But does anybody just do it to LARP ever? I really wish there were some more differences. You just do the same things, but it takes longer. I don't know, I guess you can like be slightly more authoritarian as ALF. Oh no, wait, I didn't do anything and our economy is collapsing. So in addition to the Great Depression, we're also going to get this. Our economy is collapsing, we need higher revenue than interest. I guess we kind of have a terrible interest rate of 30%. We also don't have the political power to do anything. I don't think we get any extra political power in this mod, so it's not like we really can afford to spend political power to fix this. Our economy might just collapse in a year and then we're not going to be able to do anything. Okay, this might be part of the problem. Somehow we're collecting negative numbers of taxes for poor citizens and rich citizens. I did the math and this is actually being counted as a negative $1.76 billion, because if you add all these up, including these as negatives, you get 4.63 billion. The IRS is doing a really bad job. There's some crazy tax fraud thing going on in the US right now. And the tax rate is at 20%, so I feel like there's just a bug and I don't want to increase the tax rate because then that might decrease the amount of money we're getting because it's maybe just broken. So I spent all my political power to decrease rich citizens' taxes by 5%. And now we're getting positive tax money from the rich citizens. So our revenue increased by about 4 billion because it went from negative 2 billion from rich to positive 2 billion. Maybe we're just taxing them so much so they were committing a lot of tax fraud. But now that we're taxing them less, they're willing to pay the taxes instead of steal money from the government. That's nice. I guess we'll do the same thing with poor citizens once we have the political power. Maybe we can just decrease it by 1% and it'll fix it. Our economy is still gonna collapse though. We're even making more money than we're losing. Our economy is just collapsing. Wait, how's our debt $560 billion? How did that happen? Wait, didn't we look at the debt at the start of the playthrough and wasn't it not that big? Yeah, and our debt interest rate is 205%. So we're paying 205% interest. Therefore, every year we have to pay $1 trillion in interest on a $560 billion debt when our GDP is $14 billion. And to stop the economic crisis, our GDP needs to be higher than the interest payment. So our GDP needs to become 100 times bigger to stop the economic crisis. Wow, that's gonna be hard. I don't know about that. At least we still have the #1 GDP, even though we've fallen into more debt than all of the GDPs of every country combined. Okay, so good news. We defaulted on all of our debt. I feel like the US should have gone to war with whoever gave them that interest rate. Bad news though, we have had an economic collapse. So for 2 years, we can't construct anything. This is kind of catastrophic. Amazing mod. Yeah, at least we got rid of all of our debt, though. That's kind of nice. You take a $500 billion loan that you didn't actually take, now you default on it. Only if we really took a $500 billion loan, invested into a crazy giant industry, and then defaulted on it. See, then it would be worth it. Though I guess they would start seizing assets, I assume. I guess that's what this 50% consumer goods things is. Oh, I shouldn't have clicked that button. We offered support, but to get the support, we had to build a munitions factory, but we can't build any factories anymore. It doesn't say we have any debt on the country's economy screen, but in the country's budget screen, we still have minus $1 trillion in the treasury. I don't know exactly what that means. Like, in a way, I would guess that means there's like $1 trillion in circulation, but I'm pretty sure that means that we just have negative $1 trillion in reserves, but no loans. But that doesn't really make any sense. It's kind of weird. I wonder if everybody else's economies are equally as broken, or if it's just the US economy that has gone crazy. I didn't even do anything though until I noticed that it had gone crazy. Okay, so let's see what's going on in Great Britain. Their economy didn't collapse, so they're doing better than I did. Yeah, their GDP is terrible. Their treasury is also negative $1 trillion. So I don't know, maybe everybody's treasury is just $1 trillion. They even have a worse interest rate than us. They somehow have a 345% interest rate. That's really bad. I know you have Edward VIII leading the country as the absolute monarch, but even that's a little extreme. What does Germany look like? Oh, it looks like they had an economic collapse, I think. Or do they just have no debt? Maybe they did the Civil War exploit. Like, there's this parody news site called The Onion, and they did a video that was basically what I think Germany did here. Germany had a civil war and got a new government just to erase all of their debts. Yeah, they don't have an economic collapse. They just erased their debts. Yeah, same with the Soviets. $200 billion in their treasury. They only have a $6 billion GDP. I have no clue how they amassed that amount of money. I guess communism is just very powerful. Much better than capitalism. And Japan's economy collapsed. Yeah, and they also have the negative $1 trillion treasury. I feel like the world banking system is very broken right now. Everybody is either $1 trillion in debt or has massive surpluses. I feel like a ton of countries schemed to steal trillions of dollars from another group of countries. Also, now I want to go to Mongolia and see why they have an 85 GDP per capita. Their treasury is 16 billion, which is not normal because they're such a small country. Why is their GDP so high though? They only have a revenue of 600 million, which even 600 million for Mongolia seems very, very large. I don't really see the calculation for GDP per capita anywhere here. Anyways, that's the end for today. Considering that our economy is destroyed, maybe once it's fixed, we'll have to play it again when I make another mini meme mod video. I have a list of meme mods that I want to put together into one video. I just can't do an entire video on them because there isn't enough content in each of them individually. So every like 6 months I make a video like that. So maybe we can add this to that. We'll do our best to not get a 200% interest rate. Anyways, I'll see you all next time. Happy New Year. Bye.